The state is a partner. We're not telling folks what to do. We're guiding and saying we need some consistency across the state.
Governor Tina Kotek is championing a new bill that would set up a statewide homeless shelter system. We'll break down how much the plan could cost the state coming up.
Also, is this the dunk of the year? We got to see this again. The dunk of the year? Hold on. Here it comes. The Sunrise Show is voting yes on that. The Blazers shading sharp, throwing one down. Another look right there during last night's win against the Wizards.
Getting her established in a routine and used to us doing these sorts of things with her, where it's not so scary.
I think I just scared her a little bit.
Yeah, but it's okay. That's normal.
Definitely not trying to scare Tula. Simply wanted to say hello. This was a really cool experience we had this week. An up-close visit with the Oregon Zoo's newborn baby elephant. It's a new Drew at the Zoo, all about Tula 2. That's coming up here in the 6 o'clock hour of Sunrise.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us on your Thursday. I'm China Green.
And I'm Drew Carney. Again, it is the 6 o'clock hour of Sunrise, and we will get right to Chris and Rod here in just a moment. But first, we want to show you some new video. A car ended up on the sidewalk of the Tillicum Crossing Bridge. So this happened on the southeast side of the bridge over near Omsey. The car was just towed away moments ago, so it's not blocking the streetcar or the bike lanes. Okay, having said all that, we will get over now to Chris. Chris, this is a big traffic situation that Eric Patterson was covering for us there in Drive 8.
I mean, that is a no car zone, of course, right? The bike, pedestrian, and transit bridge, the Tillicum Crossing. And good news at this point is that it's all clear. So whatever the case was there, obviously police will get that figured out, and we may hear from them later. But traffic rolling along just fine there. Earlier crash, by the way, on the ramp in Clark County from SR 14 westbound to I-5 south. It looks like that's finally cleared. So good news there. Door number 3 takes us over to the Banfield. Let's try that again. Door number 3 takes us over to the Banfield. There we go. Interstate 84 rolling right along. Rod, so far, no major freeway trouble out there just yet.
Yeah, traffic looks good. Thanks, Chris. Good morning to you. We have good visibility looking at our state capitol, mainly clear, 36 degrees. So there are some chilly spots. Again, this is down in Salem. We have, an east wind coming out of the gorge. Not really noticeable in downtown, but moving the air enough that a lot of us are holding at 40 or even warmer, 41 out at PDX. It's a similar temperature in downtown at this hour. Big story today, again, the sun and again, the warming. 54 degrees at noon. Yesterday was 61. Today we could go as warm as 65. I have a 63 at 5 o'clock. Back to you.
Breaking overnight, Oscar-winning actor Jeff Hackman, his wife, and their dog were found dead in their New Mexico home yesterday. Authorities say foul play is not suspected, but authorities did not release circumstances of their deaths and said an investigation is ongoing. Hackman was 95 years old.
Back here locally, a new report shows Multnomah County is still not meeting the goals it set for addressing the county's homeless crisis. The report found the county provided shelter or housing to more than 11,000 people since the start of 2024, but that still falls short of the county's goal. This comes as both the city of Portland and Multnomah County are each facing deficits of about $100 million. So this means 3 shelters in the area are likely going to close.
Meanwhile, Governor Tina Kotek is asking for hundreds of millions of dollars to set up a statewide homeless shelter system in Oregon.
So she's putting her support behind a bill to make that happen. Thomas Schultz joins us now in the newsroom. Thomas, let's talk about what exactly this bill would do.
Yeah, well, Drew and China, along with directing $218 million to a statewide homeless shelter system, the bill would continue to fund nearly 5,000 shelter beds that are already in place. Governor Tina Kotek says this funding would simply continue current services. Right now, Kotek says many shelters are supported by one-time funds that came during the pandemic. She wants to see the state continue to support those shelters after other funding dries up. And Kotek wants Oregon shelters to be run by regional coordinators who would submit plans and assessments to the state.
The state is a partner. We're not telling folks what to do. We're guiding and saying we need some consistency across the state. We have to have measurable outcomes. We need to know how the dollars are producing the outcomes we need.
Now, others also weighed in during this hearing, including a commissioner from Umatilla County named Cindy Timmons, who supports the bill and says this plan could be impactful, especially for rural counties.
We have towns with absolutely no services. And so when folks show up in these towns, they're given a meal and they're taken back out to the highway. And we're talking about a 2-lane road here. And they're told, don't come back now, you hear?
So this $218 million bill is part of a larger package worth $700 million Kotek is asking for to address homelessness this legislative cycle. Lawmakers on the committee were enthusiastic about the bill. Now it's up to the rest of the legislature, and we'll watch that closely to see if it passes this legislative session. Drew?
All right, from Thomas Schultz live in our newsroom there, we take a live look at the state capitol building in Salem. It sets up another story involving the state capitol. The latest prediction from state economists says Oregon lawmakers will have an additional $350 million to work with as they put together a new 2-year budget. So $350 million is really just a fraction of the state's $38 billion budget. The increase comes from an estimated jump in tax revenue, but it's also offset by added spending on this budget to cover last year's wildfire costs. The next kicker rebate, by the way, is also projected to be slightly lower.
In Olympia, Washington Governor Bob Ferguson is set to present suggested cuts and changes to lawmakers this morning that could make a dent in the state deficit. So Ferguson has said tax increases should be a last resort, with legislators tasked with coming up with a balanced budget that makes up for a $12 billion deficit over the next 4 years. The governor is saying the state needs to find efficiencies first.
Some are tough choices. I want to be clear about that. Some are tough choices. Others are what I would consider good government, that most Washingtonians would nod their head and say, yeah, that makes sense. Government should do that anyway, whether you have a budget shortfall or not. So it's a combination of those things. But that's been my focus, is the savings, the efficiencies, how we can do things better.
The governor says his list of suggested cuts will not impact schools or public safety agencies like the State Patrol. So far, 2,400 people nationwide have been laid off from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. And this morning, we've learned that 14 were from the Puget Sound VA Medical Center in Seattle. Washington state leaders say that they are now working to defend our nation's defenders. One Seattle family said that they now have to go to a VA in Illinois for a life-saving transplant after losing their local nurse to a federal job cut.
We will not be released by our lung transplant team until September of 2025. They're inundated. It will affect, and already has affected, in a week, my husband's quality of care.
Yes, there's inefficiency in government, and randomly laying off tens of thousands of federal workers is going to smash the ability of our federal government to be effective in the first place.
Initially, the Trump administration also froze staff spending cards considered vital for veteran care, but after VA leaders fought back, that appears to have changed. New details today. Investigators say the fire at the old Blue Heron paper mill was likely accidental and caused by homeless people who had lit fires while living inside the vacant complex. The fire broke out in Oregon City late last month and burned for days. Crews have now begun the demolition process. Your time now is 6:08 on your Thursday. Is today 2 of the 4-day 60-degree stretch that we were talking about?
Yes. By the way, look what I'm showing off. Isn't this pretty? Sun coming up before 7 this morning, already seen from the Wells Fargo camera, looking at Mount Hood off to the east, the blue sky that awaits us. So absolutely a gorgeous morning underway. The temperature depends on where you are, from downtown and then east out into the opening of the gorge. We've had enough wind to hold temperatures up to about 40. It's 41 right now out at PDX. Downtown Portland's at 43. Gresham's 39. And then you have the colder weather in Sherwood 34. Forest Grove and Hillsborough 35. Could be a couple isolated spots just get down to freezing by the time the sun pops up. Not really seeing fog being reported as an issue this morning. Salem, good morning, 36 for you. Can be also at 36 degrees. If you're going to the coast today, sunny skies. Yesterday, Astoria hit 68 degrees. We're expecting most areas along the beaches to get back up to 60 this afternoon. Here's the wide map. No troubles traveling or working outdoors due to the weather with the dry conditions and generally the sun. This shows 64, 63 from Kelso down to Eugene, 62. These are 4 p.m. projections. Just as warm over in Central Oregon. Gorgeous day. Bend 53. Sun River a little bit cooler at 56. About 50 degrees out in the Grand. Here's our 7-day forecast. So China mentioned what could be a 4-day run of 60-something. Yesterday 61, today 65, tomorrow 66. Saturday will depend on if we get enough sun to reach 60. We could wake up to a marine layer, but I think we'll stay dry here in the valley until showers pick up at some point Saturday evening overnight, and then rain at times on Sunday. And that is your 7-day forecast.